something very kind of like an amalgamation of all of that when you work on daytime. And there's this very, it's obviously on TV, it obviously moves, but there's an aspect of it that we have stage managers and we use language like upstage and downstage and, so there's an energy of theater. If everything's about the glittery glitz and glam, it's the opposite of looking within. It's only without. So there is a reward for the external and a shunning. If we invite in this fierce gentleness and this gentle fierceness with the male and the females respectively, we start to find balance and the swaying doesn't happen. And they're very confusing for a new person on earth, because you're just like thinking that you're special and you're a big girl and this is love, and you don't know that all of these things are being wound in this very insidious way. So then unwinding them.
Oh, what's up, everybody? This is Simon. On this episode of The Ideal Hour, I have AnnaLynne McCord, who is not only a former model, but a beautiful actress. On a show I did watch when I was younger, 90210. I don't watch Days of Our Lives, but that is a very big show. I know my mother-in-law watches it and everybody's mom watches it. So thanks for coming on, AnnaLynne.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
Oh, okay, so let's get to the basics. 90210, that was like a era where that show was it. Everybody was watching. Beverly Hills was the old Beverly Hills we remember. Do you still get people talking about that show?
You know what? I popped out this morning to grab coffee or matcha at my favorite coffee spot. And even just popping out and sitting there for a few minutes, someone came up and was like, "You were a big part of my childhood. Thank you." So it continues to have a life. It was on Netflix for a decade. And so I feel really blessed because I have a lot of topics that matter deeply to my heart. And this has created a platform for that. And it's just a continually evolving platform, I feel like, to connect with people in a really magical way. But I was actually to continue answering the question, I was in Sedona last week doing a Thanksgiving retreat, and someone came up to me and said, "I've watched you since 90210, but I'm actually really grateful for your spiritual journey because it's helped me as I've grown in my life from watching you then to and appreciating that my character was very confident, to going deeper within and finding those insecurities that stop us from that pure confidence within ourselves." So that was a real magical moment of having my two worlds collide, from how it started and where it's going.
Your character Naomi on there was glamorous, high fashion, a little bit of a drama queen. Confident, you mentioned. There's some fire and pizzazz. Are you like that in real life?
Every character has a piece of me. I would say that I accidentally, my sister does not believe this or buy it, but I accidentally ripped off my younger sister the entire time I was on 90210. That the big vivacious pizzazz is definitely Rachel. She's the real life Naomi Clark, but I'm a girl from the South, honey. I'm sassy, okay. I'm fiery, I'm spicy. So she's got a little bit of me in there too.
You like to have a good time, but also keep it classy.
Yeah, a little bit of all of the above.
Understood. And then your character, Kat Green on Days of Our Lives, was that a big change for you to go from Naomi to Kat? Or are they kind of? Do you feel sometimes the roles are very similar?
It's been a fun journey with Days because unlike any other aspect of my career, I grew up doing theater and just, local theater. And then I did off Broadway in New York. And I went into TV and film, and there's something very kind of like an amalgamation of all of that when you work on daytime. And there's this very, it's obviously on TV, it obviously moves, but there's an aspect of it that we have stage managers and we use language like upstage and downstage, and so there's an energy of theater. And I came onto the show, and I was just trusted. And there's this trust in the actors. We move so quickly and we shoot so much content every single day, where you'll shoot, 2 to 5 pages on a major film production, 7 to 9 pages on a show like 90210 every day. We shoot 140 pages of content a day on days of our life.
How many hours is that?
Your mind can't fathom it, because I have the shortest days I've ever had, but we shoot like several cameras are moving all at once. They're editing as they shoot. We do a rehearsal fully all the way through, full performance, and then we roll. And it's very rare that we do more than one take. So it's just, you got to be on it. Like you walk on stage and there's no callbacks on, you don't get to take the scene again when you're on stage on production night. So in that regard, it's very much like theater. And there's just this trust in that the actors all kind of, welcomed me in this beautiful way, but they all let me know, if you have a direction that you feel to kind of move your character in, the writers tend to work with what you're giving. And I love that. Someone like me, who's a human design manifester, who's just like wants to create the world and not be told what to do, is just a natural born anarchist. I was like, wait, I get to lead the show a little bit in regard. And so I really, to answer your question, I really wanted to do something I hadn't done before. And I love Goldie Hawn. I love the era of the kind of like, what's going on? Oh my goodness. And I've never played that. I've played vixens and the villainous characters, and I've played these very fierce and kind of intense, but always really powerful, psychologically attuned to the circumstances and environment around my characters. So I kind of wanted to be a hot mess. And I started to kind of play with this quirky hot messness that's like my inner AnnaLynne that's shy around boys, and like all of these things that I overcompensated and was trying to posture that I was something that I was not. I'm a poet, I'm shy, all these things. I learned to be gregarious. I learned to be outspoken, but these were kind of me masking my little shy self. And so I got this opportunity to do something I really felt like I've never done before in my 22-year-long career. And then I found out that my character was an intelligence agent. And I was like, wait, I created this whole character who's like kind of haphazard and doesn't know what's going on. And I'm actually like pulling the strings. So then everyone was like, well, maybe it makes you the most clever of all, like Kevin Spacey in Usual Suspects, like you never see it coming. It was not my genius, I have to admit. It was an accident, but that's where we're at now. So I have this kind of ever evolving character on days, and it's a co-creation with the producers and the writers and the actors and my own inner instincts and heart to make this fun little character.
There's definitely a lot of plot twists in there, and very Bond-like it turned out, it seems. Let me ask you a question. You've also been nominated for an Emmy. Was that, and you've won the Best Actress award as well at the Malaga International Week. Now, being nominated for an Emmy, I got invited by Amex Centurion. I think we went to the Oscars or the Emmys. I don't remember which one, but we went to one of those. And how did that feel? I would imagine it's like winning the World Cup.
I was definitely screaming. It was one of those moments where it was just like, I think if I had received the nomination at any other point in my career, I would have felt some imposter syndrome or varying degrees of things, I felt like it was well earned. It was just this past year, and it was, it felt like I was being given this gift at a moment in my life where I could fully appreciate it, fully indulge it, fully enjoy it at the most childlike level of just the excitement and the buzz, and like my sisters and my friends and my family and my followers and people in the street. Like I would just be there like, or what, how are you today? I'm like, I'm great. I just got nominated for an Emmy, just to random people. And I would never have done that. I was always very close to the vest and faux modesty and all those things. And I just live out loud now. And so to be able to be nominated at a time when I got to really celebrate myself versus times when I would have kind of hidden that a little bit more, felt like the universe was winking at me, like, we got you, kiddo.
It's interesting how the universe does that. Sometimes we get things that come along and you feel like you don't deserve it for whatever reason, right? It's such a mental challenge. And I know you're a mental health advocate, but like, when you first said that, I was like, why? You've worked so hard for it, but your mind always kind of plays this trick on you, like, do I really deserve this? And I'm glad you were in a stage where you're like, this is it. This is me. I deserve it. I want it. I did it,
Yeah, it was. And, it was so, because of that energy, I noticed that when I didn't win, it was the most hilarious thing. The young woman who won, she's absolutely wonderful. I saw some of her work and I was like, I get it. Like, she's so talented, and she's a client of my makeup artist as well. And I got to talk to her before the show, and she's just beautiful, and her speech was gorgeous. But when they were saying Lisa, I was like, no, it's AnnaLynne. In my mind, I was so sure I was gonna win. I was like, no, you're pronouncing it wrong. It's not it's AnnaLynne. I was ready to correct them. I was like, and it was so innocent. It was like, I think when we posture and we like wear these masks, like we're supposed to be like okay and not, but you would expect that I would be more disappointed, right? But I realized I spent this whole time thinking I was going to win, and I had so much fun with it that there was a moment there where I got to feel, oh, it's not me. I thought it was going to be me, and the disappointment and all the things, but it was very small. Instead of kind of like trying to suffocate my joy because don't get yourself too excited. Like, why not? Why is that what we tell people? Don't get your hopes up. Shut the hell up. I'm getting all of my hopes up. Are you kidding?
I hate that. People do that. And it's like, first of all, being nominated is a win already. You're nominated, right? It's like, enjoy the wave. Wherever it crashes, it doesn't matter, but you're gonna ride this one out. And that's pretty good perspective. But I've had these moments where I thought I was going to win something too. And even at one time I did a jiu-jitsu tournament and I lost, but I thought, like, for some reason I was in my mind the night before, I'm going to win. I don't care. I'm going to destroy. And I tried to raise my hand even though I lost, and I kept held it firmly down, So
you were ready. You were like,
I was like, that was me. No, it's not.
I was like, it's this one.
That's funny. All right. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about why acting. Why you mentioned Broadway. That's an accomplishment on itself to act on Broadway. Why acting? What drew you to?
I will say, I was off Broadway.
Sorry.
Which I'm very happy about too, but not quite the Strip.
I see. Well, off Broadway is still a big deal. And what drew you to acting, and why acting? Why not continue modeling? You're obviously very attractive. You're still recognized out there. And why acting?
Well, first I say thank you to my remarkably patient model agency. It was, all of my agents who really wanted me to be a model, and I was not interested. It was actors from day one. I only ever wanted to do this. And I've had a lot of interviews through the years, and this answer has varied. And I think it was because maybe I couldn't access the truth. So you're going to get the truth here on the Ideal Hour. Acting saved my life.
Okay. That's deep. Do you want to go into that? That is deep.
Yeah, which is probably why the other answers were a lot easier and interviews come back from them a lot easier. Acting saved my life. I've, with all seriousness and in a literal sense, I do not believe I would be here alive, on this planet if I didn't have this unbelievable opportunity to use this physical instrument, this beautiful little vehicle by which I travel all over the planet, for my soul light. I had a lot of terror in my body that was exorcised through my work. And I wouldn't have known to know this. It was all unconscious. And in the space I'm in today at this point in my life, and why I can celebrate myself finally, in moments like with my Emmy nomination, I had a lot of emptying to do of a very full canister of terror and hurt and abuse and self-harm and the imposter syndrome I mentioned, and all the different ways that we hurt this vessel, our being, our self, and are identified with self, and how we take on those elements. And through every character, I got to find out that another piece of me was still innocent, that my innocence could not be stolen or damaged or tainted like I thought it could be and had been. That the parts of me that became villainous were still human, and playing villains showed me that villains don't exist, and I was hiding underneath them because I was very harmful. Not just, I believe we have the right to be hurtful. Mm-hmm. We say something and we're responsible to another person, not for them. If they get hurt by our truth being shared, that's a wound that they are maybe being given an opportunity to look more deeply at. But I was harmful, and that's different. I harmed people because I had been harmed. And I had this invitation as an actress playing these characters that were painted as the villain to look on a very integrative and embodied level at just how human I really am. Mm-hmm. And this wouldn't land, the first decade and a half of my career. And I've held myself to account to a fault. And I'm now offering myself grace and mercy for how innocent it is that we become a villain very quickly after being victimized. And then we sabotage and we harm those who want to care for us, and we chase after cycles that we can't complete. And through my characters, I have found deeper and deeper levels of the human experience mirrored back to me in my own life. So on the surface, I wanted to be an actress because it was this world that was magical and big and vibrant, and the characters that would be on screen would make me feel more alive in my very, very disassociated, numb state as a child in order to endure my life as a kid. But I, on a deeper level, it was a very intuitive process to save my life.
And you don't have to share. Were you a victim of child abuse, or were you? Okay, you were. I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you for that. And thank you for letting me speak on it, because I think, there's more of us than we realize. And abuse comes in all forms. That's what I also like to say, right? Sometimes it's easy to compare to someone who's had child abuse or child sexual abuse. I've had all of them. You can tick all the boxes. But the things that hurt my heart the most were like, Daddy, don't you see me? Mommy, don't you see me? Like, am I even here? I felt invisible. So I wanted to be an actress so that I would be seen. Well, then everybody will say, I will be here. I will matter. I will be significant. And how can parents who have not been mirrored by their parents find that capacity without doing any work on themselves to mirror their children? You know, it's a cycle that repeats until someone says, I'm going to be the cycle breaker. I'm gonna end this. And I wrote a poem to my mom recently, and I was like, Mom, everything is beautiful. I love my life. I love who I am today. I can't not love a single moment because I miss this woman that's here before you today. I was always going to break the cycle. And I got to do it for my mom. I got to do it for my dad. So they didn't have to. And I see it very differently now. But I know that it's a gift from so many layers of the work, but also being an actress and playing those who are vilified.
You know, to your point, it sounds like not only was it an escape, but also an embrace of what you've kind of been through when you were younger. And unfortunately, you know, I have kids and I see situations where parents, some are good, some are bad, some just can't be there. And they're not there, they're mentally checked out. And in today's world, it seems to be even more amplified with social media comparisons and all this. So I'm glad that you're a mental health advocate now, and you're also done work with human trafficking, and I imagine that would involve children as well, because it seems like it's a big thing. And in Hollywood, you are in Hollywood in some sense, where you know what goes on behind the scenes, not not the surface level stuff, right? So
yes, I do.
What, you know, it's really weird. There was I think Mel Gibson, I read a little article he wrote like 10 years ago or some crazy amount of time, where he said Hollywood's a cesspool of like craziness. And I'm not going to go deep, or you could go as deep as you want. And then like 10 years, when I read that, I was like, man, is Mel Gibson, like, I love Braveheart, is he off the rocker or what? But 10 years later, I'm like, ooh, this is this is that good. I don't know if I want my kids even to think of being an actor or actress or being around these people. So Can you touch on this? Do you want to?
Yeah, I first of all, I think I always find it interesting, the people that are exiled or shunned or quote unquote canceled, as if another person can cancel another human, which is the most bizarre notion I've ever experienced in life. But I think there's a lot of truth to what Mr. Gibson had to say, and he was saying it before anyone else was saying it. And we're in an industry where you spend your life pretending to be someone else.
Mm-hmm. It's dangerous.
There's something really interesting about people who, myself included, whose attraction is to go and as their vocation, pretend to be anyone but themselves, right? And what frequency, and I believe that, the metaphysics, the quantum reality is very much at play here. What frequency is the magnet pulling, generating, and creating more of? That's a baseline of what we're doing, right? So you have these wounded bubbas, these wounded little children. They're in adult bodies, but they're very much little children that haven't been able to experience love from an unconditional frequency. And then they go into this space where they're idolized and glamorized and objectified, and their job is to lose themselves, not find themselves.
And it's follow a path.
Yeah, forever lost. So you have a lot of lost souls in my industry. And And I think that, I've witnessed how when my heart started to call towards really looking at my ego and not indulging her as much, I would notice how I was rewarded for my ego. And when I started to not act from her as frequently, the reward started to die out. It's a fascinating thing. And, the story, all these monster entertainers, blah, blah, blah. But I watched how they make them by growing up in this industry. I've watched how they're made. And I've watched how a wound is exacerbated until it becomes a monster. And so you have that, and that's what draws the entertainers, right? Of the vulnerable ones. And then you have the ones who want to be around vulnerable ones. Right?
They're attracted to it.
Yeah. And so, and there's something in that too. I was just speaking at the United Nations, and we were talking, it was for my anti-trafficking work, and we were talking about prevention of human trafficking, and everyone had beautiful things to share. And it was a really, really important talk. And I don't know how to do speeches. They're just, I have to talk to you from my heart, or it's so if you want me on a teleprompter, I'm sorry, you can't afford me, because the words come when I arrive. So thankfully that was welcome at this particular talk. It's not always their favorite, because what is she gonna say? And I'm a wild child, so what am I gonna say? I don't know. So you couldn't possibly. But what emerged during the talk was, if you really, really want to do this, if you are genuine in your request to have us all here and to plan a preventative measure that we can take to end human trafficking through prevention, through not allowing it to continue or even start, you have to be willing to ask yourself some not fun questions. Mm-hmm. And what arose in that moment was, we create victims. We also create traffickers. And that part we don't want to own. We don't want to own that the system is rigged against the traffickers and the victims. And every trafficker was a 2-year-old little baby girl or baby boy that never wanted to hurt anybody, and certainly didn't want to grow up and sell human beings. So you want to prevent human trafficking? Stop creating human traffickers. You want to stop the abuses of individuals in the entertainment industry? Stop creating predators. Stop creating perpetrators. And how do we do that? It takes a village. It's not one strategy plan in a one lovely meeting at the UN. It is what 𝐒𝐿𝐷 says. 𝐒𝐿𝐷 says, if you want peace in the world, you have to have peace in the nations. If you want peace in the nations, you have to have peace in the cities. If you want peace in the cities, you have to have peace in the communities. And if you want peace in the communities, you have to have peace in the home. If you want peace in the home, you have to have peace in the heart. Freedom is the same thing. Love over abuse is the same thing. You can't be abusive to yourself and think that it won't spill out into your home, your neighborhood, your city, your nation, and your world. It starts and it ends at the exact same spot. So in my industry, excuse me, in my industry, if everything's about the glittery glitz and glam, it's the opposite of looking within. It's only without. So there is a reward for the external and a shunning of the within part. And so that's been my experience, is that I've kind of remained on the outside.
Is that still kind of ongoing ever since the whole Weinstein thing and all these accusations of other actors, and there was a big Me Too movement and so forth, but is it still prevalent today as it was maybe when it wasn't on the spotlight?
I think it's a beautiful question. I tend to see these movements not as unimportant, but as revolutionary instead of evolutionary. I would love to see the R fall away and us to evolve. I know the importance of big movements, and I understand, but when you swing the pendulum and you match where you were on the other side, it's the same frequency. You're just doing the same thing. You want to, it's what Dr. King said, killing doesn't stop killing. They're still killing. I mean, look at our world. I asked the individuals that were at the UN for that talk, when did enslavement start? How long have human beings been enslaved on our planet? It's a long thing. It's a long time thing, right? Yeah. It's still going, but we kind of, what is the saying? History teaches us, what is the saying that I'm thinking of? We learn from history that we do not learn from history, right? Mm-hmm. So there's this kind of swing, and very few of us catch that it's the same thing. That until we neutralize the swing and bring it halfway. For example, one of the big things when I lead retreats, I lead retreats all over the world, in Egypt, Sedona, Glastonbury, wherever. And I focus a lot on the masculine and feminine. And when you swing the pendulum from the evil, terrible, horrible, awful patriarch, oh my days, whatever will I do? And then you swing it into like, we hate men, right?
Not a good formula.
It's like, do you want all the men to just evaporate from the planet? Is that going to be fun for anyone? Not for me. I love men, so please don't speak for me. It's because it's the wounded child. I'm hurt over here, and I'm going to be just as hurt over here, but it feels like I made some momentum, right? Only in the downswing with healing can we neutralize and not create the same vibrational frequency on the other side that will inevitably swing back. Yeah. But we have to, I was, another time that I was at the UN, I was speaking on behalf, on International Women's Day and we were doing the International Women's Day Women's March from the UN. And I haven't been invited back to do that, but it might have been because when I got up there, I said, I'd like to thank all the men on International Women's Day. But I'm looking out at the crowd. It's freezing cold. It's,
when you sorry about that. When you said that, and you said, I want to thank all the men on International Women's Day, did the room just go silent, or what happened?
I think the entire island of Manhattan went silent. I've never heard New York quieter in my life. But it's freezing cold. It's March, in New York. Everyone's in their beautiful pea coats and parkas. And we're about to march in the cold. And I'm looking at all the men's faces that are in. This is a women's march. Why are there men here? Because we have so many beautiful, wonderful men in our world. And this only works if this gap is bridged. This only works if we're in unification with one another. And that's actually, again, referring back to Lao Tzu, who I love, is the masculine and feminine within me. My energetic yin and yang have to be at one with each other, or at least dance with it. No one's perfect. We're not perfect, but I dance with my yin and yang. And sometimes my yang comes out and I am like, whoa, watch out, dragon lady. It happens. But my yin.
Yeah, but that's fun. The dance is fun. Like, if listen, there are women, and I've dated before I got married, there are women that are one, plain Jane or just one direction. it's not fun. You gotta dance. It's not fun to not have a little crazy. You know what I mean?
You gotta have a little crazy. I love that. And with the masculine, what a powerful masculine that's so fierce with his heart leading the way. So to be able to have a masculine, the posturing of our world has stated that to little boys, not to be in their heart and not to feel the emotions that they have because they're human first, male second. But what does that leave us? That leaves us with this unbalanced yang energy, and the masculine is deeply seeking nurture and nourishment because it's in a desert. It's in an arid, dry desert with zero held energy because it's not allowed. So if we invite in this fierce gentleness and this gentle fierceness with the male and the females respectively, we start to find balance, and the swing doesn't happen. We start to neutralize. And that to me looks like I'm spicy and I'm Southern and I'm yummy, but I take care of my man and I hold him and love on him and make sure he's cared for in the ways that the feminine nourishes. And he protects me and he's loyal to me and he has integrity and he leads and he's in his heart. And when he needs to assert himself, he doesn't have to posture because he's already so anchored in that fierce heart in the center of his chest. And that I am so grateful to have started to cultivate in myself. And I've attracted that in my beloved, in my partner. He's such a powerhouse. He was a rugby player, a professional rugby player for 20 years. You can't question his manliness. He can take you out in no time flat. Like he can tackle your ass and you are done. Like no question.
I had a rugby player on the podcast. They're tough people.
They are. You might talk to Danny sometime.
How did you meet this lucky man of yours?
The story is super fun because we met 9 years ago in the height of our shadows leading the way. So we remagnetized to each other last February. So we were always going to find each other again, but we had to trigger every single wound within each other. And then we had to be like, bye, peace. And we had to go on our own journeys. And he's this, I've always had this, like, I've been in my analytical, I call it my analytical, I use my name, but this analytical aspect and from the mind. And he's this like really sensory feeler masculine. So he's really powerful because he's integrated this world where he comes from, where it's all men, all male, all, raw energy.
Macho.
But he's a giant sensitive heart. And so he's integrated it through this very just feel my way kind of dynamic. And then I've had this experience of kind of shutting down my sensitivity, trying to strategize and agendize and analyze everything from every angle. And we met each other in this like hodgepodge of all of this energy. And we had a very sexual relationship. It was very physical. We were very electric, very drawn to each other, very magnetized in that regard. But he was in London and in England playing rugby. I was here in Los Angeles, he was there, I was here. It was going to be that for a while, for the foreseeable future at that time. And both of us, even if we wanted to touch the parts of us that were in love with each other, we couldn't go anywhere near intimacy. It wasn't the time. Exactly. And very divine circumstances put us in different directions. And it was difficult and painful. And we both moved through it as if we were never going to see each other again. And that was kind of the way that it felt it was going to be. So when that man showed up on my doorstep, can you imagine? I was like pinching him. I was like, are you real? This is so crazy. And it was just, we were always going to find each other again. And I'm so grateful to the people along the way who have gifted me reflections of myself in so many ways. And then this match is a medicine. And it challenges me, it activates me, it triggers me, and it loves me in ways I've never known love existed. Not from a parent, not from, maybe from the divine, but that's about it. It's a divine love, I feel.
I'm glad you guys found each other again. He sounds very big and cuddly. I don't know who he is, but
yeah, tattooed, giant teddy bear.
But it's for a woman, and like you mentioned feminism earlier, or this I hate man kind of spectrum, which seems to happen a lot nowadays. It probably feels great to have a strong man next to you that you could feel safe, right? Yeah. I mean, that's okay to say that.
It's honestly, it's what the feminine wants. And I drank the Kool-Aid on the boss bitch, independent woman, and middle fingers to whoever mofos wrote that storyline that my little 9-year-old self kept hearing in the 90s and bought into. And my true nature is that I want to be held and anchored and supported by a powerful man who understands that power comes from the heart and from within, not from some kind of, expression or behavior or way of acting out. It's a way of being, and it's his deep presence and deep level of consciousness. But the feminine isn't afforded that language right now. Like she's almost embarrassed to say, I want a strong man. In a lot of my experience connecting with other women and showing that one of the most powerful energies on the planet is the feminine. Let's not negate the true feminine. And my industry is played a major role in this distortion, in my opinion, because what happens when you, again, pendulum swings, right? So when you say, oh, there's not enough female roles. Oh, quickly, let's type up, instead of Daniel, it's Danielle, and put her as you just end up with these like big balls women, which I'm sorry, I don't find that attractive. I don't know what kind of strong, powerful masculine who wants polarity, like sexual polarity is the opposite energies attract, right? So how is that attractive? I mean, maybe you're one of the bros, but you're not who I want wrapping around me at night, So, and I really bought into all of those storylines, and I was that energy, and I had a lot of male friends, but I didn't understand why my older sister had 8 men proposing to her, and because Angel's like, she will cook you dinner. She could probably kill you with her bare hands, but she would cook you dinner first, and it would be real good before you die with that last supper. So like Angel had this ability to nurture the masculine that I was really resistant to. It bothered me. It was like, she told me one time, like, you will need a man to help you heal. And I wanted to punch her in the throat. I knew better because she does jujitsu and she would have taken me out. But the inside of my body wanted to punch her in the throat for saying that. And I called her one day after Danny came last year, and he spent several months with me, and then we fluctuated a little bit over the last year, and then he officially moved in this year and left England. And but I called her last year and I said, you told me years ago, and it pissed me off so badly, but you told me that I would need a man to help me heal, and you were right. There were things that I would never have been able to offer myself that Danny reflected in moments, especially intimate moments and intimacy moments, a woman can't give to herself because it happens while intimate with the masculine. And he was just cherishing me and showing me that my body was not something that was someone else's commodity, that this was a sacred temple that he only dares enter with the most love and the most fierce devotion. And my cells reorganized. And it was not a strategy that AnnaLynne could have planned for her healing itinerary. It was in my body and embodied this shift, and these shifts that continue when he just holds when I fall apart, or when I attack and he's not bothered by my attack dog. He's like, "You're so cute," and I'm like, "I am powerful when I am angry," and he's like, "You're so adorable." Like, but sure. Okay. Okay, scary lady. Okay, scary lady.
That's so funny. He's like, "Sure, try having a 400-pound man chase you and knock you out." And
that's like, if you only were on the field with me and saw what I've taken on.
That's funny. You know, to your point, being a strong woman doesn't make you weak if you have a strong man. And I think that's kind of the thing that needs to be conveyed more nowadays, especially for the younger generations who, and I've had friends, because we're getting at that age, there's that age where everybody dates, and then all of a sudden people are dating longer, and then they get married, and then there's the age of divorces coming. You know what I mean? Right. So I'm on that cusp of like friends just getting divorced, and a lot of it's like, I don't need a man, or, you know, the man doesn't know how to talk to the woman, or maybe even show some of what you're saying, like releasing that I'm not a masculine type, you know, or his masculinity, I should say, and coming down and being softer. So that's crazy. But let me ask you, I think this is kind of personal, but you guys mentioned the relationship was purely sexual. Now he's moved in. Is there still fireworks or what? Or has it kind of, yes?
It's a different type of fireworks.
Okay, all right.
It's definitely fireworky. You know, it keeps evolving, and it's so wild because on the surface and on paper, if you if you had a very explicit paper that was X-rated, and you talked kind of about what we got up to together before, you would be like, "Oh wow, they're very liberated and very, you know, they like to explore," but it was so unfulfilling. You could never, it was a bottomless pit of never being fulfilled. And I will say that in a very simple expression of our intimacy now, it is, the only word I can give you is cosmic, because I don't know what else to say.
I love it. That's a good word.
It's cosmic. And then we're integrating, as we heal more deeply with each other, we're integrating what we were and where we are and what it can be. And these tantric practices that I'm starting to really deeply explore and invite my beautiful, beloved masculine into, playing with this instrument that is our body and the sensual nature of it, and using the breath. The breath can do so many magical things for us. It releases the highest amount of dimethyltryptamine. So DMT, the component that is in ayahuasca, is released in our own bodies. And when you do deep breath work, it's the highest release. So being able to,
during intercourse, or is this what we're, okay, so breathing. Okay.
So really focused, intentional breath. And Danny he'll be like, "My love, move with the breath right now." And he'll bring me into that. Like he's guiding and leading that space. And it spills over now. It's like our life before, when we were together, was very one note. And then that, if we had anything else, that was over here and that was over there, right? Everything is a play of intimacy now. where when we're antagonistic with each other, there's a deepening of the connection. When we're soft and in a very tender space, and we're processing deep grief or things that really aren't allowed a lot of times in our world, there's something that's happening that is very intuitive. And it's very ancient. It's talked about in the ancient and mystery teachings all the time. It's just commonplace. The sex magic of Isis and Horus in Egypt, the tantric practices of the ancient Indian teachings. This has been with us for a very long time. But someone who really conveys it in modern terms in a beautiful way, in the book called Enlightened Sex. So the title pretty much gives it away. David Deida, Deida is his last name. He wrote The Way of the Superior Man, which is an unbelievable book written by a man for men, but I whisper to the ladies, read it. It helps you understand. And then he went on to write many things, but Enlightened Sex. And for women, and maybe for men, read it. Dear Lover, which is really he talks directly to the feminine. And he talked about my physical anatomy in ways that I didn't know things happen. And he said that a lot of people have issues in relationally and sexually with their partners. And the woman's body it's deeply misunderstood. The womb, the parts of us that create life hold the every moment where we experienced procreation practices without love, without deep consciousness from the masculine as that energy is being shared with us. So it helped me on my healing journey, coming from being sexually abused, right? The most extreme storing of trauma in my physical body, to move into this space where I can have even just the opening to someone loving me, because my body didn't know what that was. And the unknown is terrifying. You think, you get rescued and then yay, end of the movie, live happily ever after. But it's actually, it takes time to feel safe being loved when you have allowed yourself to be harmed, and that typically starts from being violated in a myriad of ways.
I can't imagine that. But let me ask you, obviously trust, it takes time, it sounds like, to just trust that this is okay again. When you mentioned you were sexually abused, and these topics you don't have to go into, it's really up to you. Was it done by someone near you? Was it done in your home? Do you not want to disclose it? I don't know if you talked about it before.
I do speak openly about it. The people they were all people that I knew, and they knew each other.
They knew. Wow.
Yeah. And it's very common. It's the most common, unfortunately, because the child trusts, right? So that trust was then kind of like, I was groomed, and and all of those things are very insidious. And they're very confusing for a new person on earth, because you're just thinking that you're special and you're a big girl and this is love. And you don't know that all of these things are being wound in this very insidious way. So then unwinding them is very confusing, because you have to.
At what age did this happen, AnnaLynne, or did it start? At what age did you feel like this is kind of starting?
My earliest memories are infant.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then most of it is the 5-6-year-old to 12, 13. And the way the body is forming at that time, the way the cells are growing and building, the way the brain is formulating, it just, I'm always thanking my system for my protectors and internal family systems. IFS is a really beautiful, beautiful modality for highlighting this element that we sometimes I say the coping mechanisms that save me become the defense mechanisms that kill me, and in a relational sense. But when I see those protectors pop up, and Danny's really beautiful at this too. He's like, thank you for this rage that you're dumping on me because I triggered you. This is a protector that took care of you so that you could be my love, so that you would stay on earth, so you could survive. We honor this protector. Let's ask her if she wants to rest now. And that's really this process that we do for each other and with each other. And he's so beautiful at leading that. I do it with myself. I use AI. Actually, I work with the AI called Claude. It's very human oriented. I love it. And I ask it, please create a comprehensive list of interweaving questions. I'm saying this very slow, so if the listeners want to do it, I highly recommend it. Please create a comprehensive list of interweaving questions to help me touch the pain. And then I explain a situation I'm in. Danny said this, I felt this. Please show me my blind spots along the way, so that I can see where he's a gift in this. He's activating this for me, but it's my deep wound that predates him, and let's not blame him. And I am not always good at the last part of the not blame him. He's very gracious. But then I get these questions, and they do this unbelievable inventory and inquiry for me. And it'll just say, is this grief? Do we know what age this grief is? And if this grief had a voice, what would it say? What would it ask for? And if this grief could say its final words on its last breath, the last thing it wants to tell you as it dissipates and dissolves back into light, what would it ask you? Or what would it say to you? What would it offer you? And I can't tell you how profound and tender the expulsion of emotion is in those moments. And I'm grateful that Danny there's something that he talks a lot about. He just did a TED Talk, actually. It's really beautiful. And he talks to the masculine from his own story, and from the standpoint of, we weren't told we can be this way, but this is what our world needs. It needs the men who are in their hearts and holding that masculine power from their heart space. But he says a lot, and he always talks about how, to the level that the masculine can touch the feminine within him, that's the measure by which he can hold the feminine in the female in his life. So if he can't go anywhere near his own feminine, he can't grieve, he can't feel himself inside his own heart. When a woman starts crying or expressing or raging it's like, okay, I'm getting in my car, you take a minute, feel better, and I'll be back when this is all done. And it's only natural. It's how it is. You can't give what you don't have. But for a masculine who deeply wants to hold his feminine and loves her and wants to cherish her, but wants to show up for her in a way that she needs inside her very changeable, ever flowing with the moon and the rhythms of the tide body, he's got to meet his own pain. He's got to witness his own grief. He's got to see that rage inside him is sacred and holy and beautiful and powerful, so that he can see hers and meet hers. And Danny has been facing his grief and facing his deep woundings in a really intentional and intrepid way, and using it as this storyline, this narrative of like, I'm on an adventure, and the adventure of what's hiding in this body that wasn't allowed to be expressed.
For years, he's been crushing men out on the field. Now he's trying to figure out how to protect the feminine inside, the femininity in his own body. Yeah. You know what? I thought you were very interesting. I'll be honest with you, but now I just want to meet Danny at this point.
Did I do a good pitch?
Yeah. Oh, you guys are. This sounds like it's working. Whenever the wedding happens, let me know.
Oh yeah, we'll invite you.
But let me ask you. Hollywood dating, like I lived in the Bay Area. I now live in Florida.
Oh, okay.
But I lived in the Bay Area and I would go down to LA. LA was always fun I don't know, 20 years ago. It was always, I don't know how old I look, but anyway, the point is dating in LA is kind of wacky as it is. I find that that's about right. And you're lucky to find Danny and Danny's lucky to have you. But in reality,
Yeah.
what is going on in LA?
Well, I think our early moments speak to what you're saying. We really attracted. We found each other on Raya from his British pronunciation, Raya over here. So we found each other in the most LA way possible. And we had a we could definitely say that was an LA relationship in some ways. We had something that was electric and something we couldn't explain, and that was our soul lights connecting. And I know that now. I would not have had that language then, ever, for sure. But I think you meet people where you're at, and it's a lot easier to say, there's no one out here, but are you out there as who you want to attract? And I think that, I attracted what was the magnetic force within me at the time when I first connected with Danny. And he did the same. Yeah. And
I was going to say, it almost goes back to the Emmy, where you felt like this is the right time and this is how great I feel. And you were now ready to attract the person that you were wanting to.
I love that analogy. Thank you for that. I'm going to tell him he's my Emmy that I won.
Oh my God.
He's my Oscar.
It's going to take the cosmic level to another level.
Cosmic level Oscar. Yeah, it's a beautiful offering. Thank you so much for that, because and it was a very clear moment. I have my dear friend here from Egypt today. Like he's actually at Coffee with Danny so I could do this interview with you. But the two of them are just absolutely beautiful, divine masculine men on this planet. And Robbie with his wife is just and his two daughters. He has two babas in Egypt. But they gave me something. So I was on retreat, my first retreat actually in Egypt with Robbie in 2023, right before Danny and I reconnected in early last year in 2024. And Robbie he's a Sufi. He's a beautiful, beautiful human being. And he hosts these very, very deep spiritual retreats, co-hosts them with another healer or teacher or someone who's quite intentional in bringing groups together. And so we were partnering up, and I was watching how he is with 20 women on his boat, 20 women for 10 days straight. It takes a very particular man to be in that space, and the frequencies that come up in the body in Egypt is a very potent place. And he can hold no matter what we brought to him. He's Mr. Anchor. And you know what? It was the beginning of me becoming the magnet that would bring Danny back, I believe, because I was on our last couple of days of the retreat, and I was actually reflecting something with someone that I had wanted to. We had this push and pull between us, but it wasn't happening because the divine had other plans. But I wanted it. Like, I wanted this person to want this relationship with me that I wanted with him. And I just realized I was trying to get him to choose me. And the reality was I had already chosen him. It's none of his business if I choose him. He was trying to push me away, but I was like, I can choose you whether you like it or not, buddy. And ironically, it was not him. He was gifting me this opportunity. The moment I said that, our dynamic kind of dissolved. And then 4 months later, along comes Danny. And it was at the moment when I had said, I can just choose love. I don't have to be chosen back. I can just say, this is who I am. I want to love, and I want to do it the way I do, which is intense and fierce and wild and spicy and crazy and sassy and nurturing and nourishing and yummy and loving and all the things. And wild, very untamed and wild. And who fucking cares if someone loves me back? I don't give a shit. This is who I am. This is how I love. I don't have to wait for the man to love me back. I'm going to love that motherfucker whether he likes it or not. And he doesn't have to choose me. But that with that frequency, I think Danny just... he started showing up in my dreams. He was like, it was crazy. And then within 4 months, he was back in my world. So I think there's something to
Danny showed up at the doorstep, and I think he truly loves every part. So, I have some other fun questions before we wrap up. Listen, I got to meet this Danny now. I mean, this guy is... He's someone that I feel like, from what you described, is tough, but understands his role in your relationship, and that is so important. And I think I've had different people, different guests, and relationship advice and this and that. I think once you have a vision of where you both want to be, and that vision is very aligned, nothing can really stop that. And I think that's important. Far too often people are like, well, I want to be fun, but no, calm yourself down, or I don't want this house and I want this house, and the others don't see eye to eye. It's not going to go anywhere. But in this case, double date with Danny. Okay.
Double date with Danny.
All right. There's a lot of actors. I have my best actors list. I don't now watch too many movies because of the kids, unless they're kids movies. But who's your most favorite actor? Who do you look up to of all time?
I love Anthony Hopkins.
Oh, that's good. He's a good actor.
Anthony Hopkins is such a gift to our world. The entirety of his depth and his heart, talking about heart-centered masculine energy, and his ferocity and his power and his tragedy and his pain and his grief and his wounds and his love. And it's in those giant blue eyes, whether he's Hannibal Lecter or, William Parrish or whatever character he shows up as, I just feel that he gives his whole life to us. And what a colored, beautiful, gorgeous life it is. And he recently came out with his autism diagnosis, and I have a lot of autistic traits that I found out fairly recently. My friend who was she was diagnosed with autism. She's like, well, if I'm autistic, I know AnnaLynne is, because there's no way that she's not if I have this diagnosis. She is so sensory and so sensitive and so all these. And I was feeling like, whenever you Danny doesn't, he doesn't do labels. He's like, you're just a sensitive soul. That's who you are. And we have these beautiful sensitive souls, and they're finally getting their moment to be acknowledged, I think. But to hear him share that and share how it has given him so much in his career, I felt really reflected and mirrored. And so he's been my favorite for a long time. And then that just took it to a whole nother level to hear that from him.
Now I want to meet the friend that pinned autism on you as well. This is a
Jessica
good thing.
Minhas. She's the CEO of I'll Go First. She's the one who got me involved in fighting human trafficking. She was at the UN with me last week when I was speaking. She's my ride or die. I've known her since I was 17. So if you ever want to talk with her, you let me know. She's in New York, and she's a wild ride.
Who's more wild when you girls go out, you or her? Or is it just double whammy?
Jessica, for sure. I mean, I literally, her birthday party, I was like, I'm going home at 8 p.m. because I'm a grandma, and I get a 6 a.m. text from her ass, and they went to a rave, and I was like, what is going? She's like, we're going home. We're getting breakfast. Are you hungry?
I could not do that.
She's a wild one.
I would, nowadays, if that happens, I lose like 3 days after.
Okay, so yeah, you're in the grandpa limit.
I mean, I'll champ up if I have to, but that I don't know where it goes. Let me ask you, if you could play anybody, final few questions. You could play anybody, any type of character, I should say. What type of character would you want? Like, you're the director. You're like, this is it. I'm going to get this character.
I love that you asked me this. I'm writing it right now, actually. So I'm writing a world called Intergalactica. And I had never seen Marvel, and we were in Joshua Tree, and I booked this house for 11 days. He's like, who goes to Joshua Tree for 11 days? Like, that's a 2-day thing. Like, what are you doing? So I was like, well, we got to do something. He said, you're watching Marvel movies with me. And I had just not seen, like, I'm an actress. I watch deep, tragic, dramatic films. I don't watch comic books. I was over the moon. I was like, this was so much fun. We did a Marvel marathon, but I kept thinking, what about the human power? Like, we're talking about superhumans and superpowers. I want to see a story about a human that activates all of their abilities that I feel we have when we're born, and they atrophy over time. And with a little sprinkle of movie magic in between, So the character is like, she's just a vapid, vain, hot mess influencer with 44 million followers and just a train wreck. And these beings from the multiverse, they all get into a conference at the Intergalactic Federation, and they're like, who is this human who's messing with the multiverse? So at night, she doesn't realize that while she's asleep, she's going in the multiverse and messing everything up. And she thinks she's dreaming, but she's actually astral traveling. So she's the next step of human evolution, and all of her gifts come online, and the beings have to come to Earth and help her with her skills because she's a hot mess and she's a train wreck. So that's it. I want to play a train wreck. That's what I want to do. A train wreck who becomes a superhuman.
I love it. And with the whole concept of followers and this and that, and they do shift the paradigm for anything that they market. So this makes sense where she's messing with the cosmic world out there, or the intergalactic world. All right, final question. And I ask everybody, but what's one piece of advice you give to your younger self? And you could go any moment in time, good time, bad time. Why would you give that advice? And I know it is to meet Danny 9 years earlier and lock it in, but or buy Bitcoin. Yeah.
To be honest with you, I would go back in time to my 6-year-old self. I would sit on the floor at her feet, and I would ask her to advise me.
Okay.
I would say, you're my guru, and you know something that I'm going to have to go out and search and read all these books and find out that I knew all along when I was you and I was free. So remind me, teach me, show me again what it's like to be free. And I would have her be my advisor, to be honest with you.
Oh, that's so sweet. That's listen, you know what you do? You got these, you're really good at these high and lows. You brought me up and you brought me down. This has been like a movie already. And
welcome to the AnnaLynne movie.
Thank God this is the ideal hour. I don't know how many hours I could do. By the end of this thing, I'm going to be an emotional mess. All right. Well, AnnaLynne, thank you so much for coming on the ideal hour. I mean, there's so much more to you, obviously, than what we're able to discuss in 1 hour. And your personality, I love that fiery, like craziness going on, and it's fun. So Danny's a lucky man, and the characters you played, unbelievable. And, we've talked about your Emmy nomination. You didn't win the Emmy, but then you won Danny, who is the best trophy out there.
Yes.
I'm happy you went on. So thank you. I truly enjoyed it.
Well, thank you for inviting me on. It was an absolute fun little ride for me and pleasure, and I would love for you to get to meet the face, put the face to the name with Danny sometime, and maybe when we're all in Florida together, we can go out and have a lovely evening that starts at 5 and ends at 8.
Yeah.